Thanks for coming out. The first thing I want to start with, and we should all be proud, because this is not about me. This is about we, is to recognize and give yourselves a shout out to recognize that Michigan is the comeback state of the United States. And I want to give you one illustration of why. It's about people helping people. It's not about what I say. It's about Michiganders helping Michiganders. And one illustration is we created a program when I got in office called Pure Michigan Business Connect. It's a new government program. So the first thing people thought is, how much money is it going to cost? And are you going to give out a lot of dollars? Well, the thing about Pure Michigan Business Connect is it didn't involve any money. It was about government helping convene people to say, we can do more business with one another, and to find one another, and to do more business with your friend and your neighbor, and other people you haven't met, but who are still your neighbor and your new friend. So we kicked off this program, and the results have been great. We've had about $8 billion of capital commitments. We've had businesses saying they would buy from other businesses. A couple of the people that led it off, DTE did a great job. They were one of the kickoff partners. They've actually increased their commitment by over $100 million. But one of the other founding people that were part of this process was Consumers Energy. And it was great. I just had a meeting with John Russell. They made a commitment to say they would buy $250 million more of Michigan products and services over a 5-year period. And they already buy a couple $1 billion worth. So they're big buyers already in Michigan. But they made a commitment to do $250 million more over 5 years. Well, John, that deserves a big shout. Well, John has told me this program has gone so well. They've done over 383 contracts with other Michigan people to supply them. Consumers Energy is doubling their commitment to do $500 million worth of business over a 5-year period with new Michigan organizations. So let's give Consumers Energy a big shout out. Where's John? So the only thing I can say, if you happen to be someone looking for a new customer, that's why I had them stand up, so you know how to find them. But that's the kind of effort. Again, think about that. A couple things that I'm going to not do today, and I just want to set the stage because I want to get to questions. What I'm not going to do today is I'm not going to go through accomplishments, because I'm happy to say I believe we've gotten a lot done, but you've had the business leaders present, you've had other people talk about scorecards and things that have happened, and they do a great job of a wonderful scorecard. They do very good work, and they're a great partner. The other thing I'm not going to do is you had 5 topics that were major topics. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about those because I assume people are asking questions on those. So I'm going to go back to 3 things. The first thing is talking about a fundamental thing about what's everyone's role in this situation. How do we work together? Because I think that's fundamental. Because if you go back a couple years, Michigan was a broken place, and our government was broken. In my view, the biggest single thing is not about any law or regulation that needed to be changed, but culture. It was changing our culture in this state. And one of the cultural issues that was profound was what's the role of government? What's the role of the public sector? How often has anyone ever talked about that in an open, clear way? We just sort of assume government's around, and it's a big part of our life. But why is it there? And I believe that discussion's gotten lost. And one of the keys to success that I believe we've been able to get so much done is we've defined what the role of government is. And the first thing is stepping back to say the role of government is not to be an ATM machine. We're not here to take someone's money and give it out to somebody else. And that's too often about how people view government. This is not rocket science. The role of government is very straightforward. We're a customer service business, and you're the customer. The citizens and organizations of our state are my customer, and I'm here to give you great service. Isn't that the point of government? And when you stop and look at it, and I know you probably don't feel this way when you got your tax bill, But in the big picture sense, the real question is do you feel good you bought the right amount of government? Did you make a smart purchase decision? Because we're a unique supplier. We supply public safety, education, a lot of things other people don't supply. And in the big picture, there are a lot of competing interests for your resources, your time, your effort. And did we do a good job so you felt you got a good return on what you bought? And did we give you great service? Not just to help you, but to help society. And that's something that I think is going to make a huge difference in continuing our growth in Michigan, is I don't believe the rest of the country has defined it yet. And you can see, not in Washington for sure. And we need that to happen and understand what the role of government is. So that's a big part of what we're doing. But the second one I was going to hit, the second point is how we're doing things. And I appreciate Jim. That was a great intro, Jim, because you emphasized one word, one phrase you hear from me over and over again. It's relentless positive action. How we're doing things is fundamentally different. Again, contrast us to what's going on in Washington. The first thing is relentless positive action says no blame. Stop and think. Have you ever seen blame solve a problem? It doesn't. The second part of relentless positive action, taking credit doesn't matter. What matters are results and making a difference in real people's lives. And the third piece is just simply saying we're focused on solving problems and using common sense. Take on those problems, whether they've been here 2 years. In many cases, the problems I'm proud to say we're taking on have been here 50 years. And we're not going to walk away from any problems just because they've been here a long time. That's why you hired us to come in, to have that conviction to say, we'll take on any problem. If it's a real problem for our citizens, we'll address it. Will we solve it overnight? Well, maybe not. Maybe it takes a while. But we'll try to apply common sense in an inclusive fashion to bring people together to say, this is not rocket science. We all know what we need to do. Let's have the courage to do the right thing and just get the job done and move forward. And that's why I really encourage us to continue, because the philosophy really is working. Focusing on the problem and not getting distracted by all the noise, people wanting to fight, all that other stuff doesn't solve anything. So that's a huge part of it. So the third thing I want to cover with you is one of the topics that was mentioned here today. And I sort of want to tee it up as what I view as one of the very most important things we need to really work on. And we've already started working on it, but I don't believe it's gotten enough attention. So I'm giving you a commercial kind of, to highlight something else that I think really needs more attention. And I want to sort of set the stage in the big picture, because again, a lot of it is how you define these problems and questions to get them focused on the right way. And it's the topic of talent. If you look at the things we're trying to achieve, more and better jobs and a future for our kids, and many of you are business people. As business people, you know the most critical thing for the long-term success of any enterprise is having the right talent. And the places in the world that have the best talent with the right skills are going to be the most successful. And my simple view of the world is we're going to lead the world and North America in having the most talented people. And that's more important than tax incentives, regulation, a whole bunch of other stuff. They're important things. But ultimately, the talent question is fundamental, because that's jobs, quality of life, and economic success. So let me tell you how I view talent. And one thing is I use the word talent. A lot of people like to use workforce or kids or other things. Talent's the best word, I think. There are 3 C's to talent. There's collaboration, there's creation, and there's connection. And you have to do those 3 things to succeed. And what do I mean by that? Well, first of all, let me talk about collaboration. Because this is, again, not about the government solving everyone's problem. Government's role in this collaboration role is to be a clearinghouse, a coordinator. The collaboration that really counts is getting the private sector involved. Getting the private sector to take real ownership of talking about what their talent needs are for the near term and the long term. And if I went around to the business people in the room, I bet I could get almost every business person to say, there is some skilled trade position that you are really striving to get, that you really wish you had more people that you probably could grow your business. We're not getting the input enough yet from the private sector. We need to bring people together to talk about what those requirements are. We need companies to volunteer to start doing tours again, to let parents and kids come in to say what a great thing it is to be a machinist in a place or a mechanic. They don't understand what's required to be successful, so they're shying away from those opportunities. So we need a much stronger collaboration with the private sector, and we need more leadership from the private sector. The second one is creating talent. And that's what I define as P20. It's not K-12, it's not early childhood, it's not just universities or community colleges. What P20 is prenatal through lifelong learning. The concept that we should look to have a much more seamless, integrated system of helping people find their careers. Because how often do we stop and say, what's the point of our educational system? There are two major goals, in my view. The biggest goal is how to help people find a career. The second one is self-enrichment. I mean, it is important that we always have an opportunity to grow and experience new learnings. And to do it in the concept of P20. And again, that's not to say we're going to make our universities go away or K-12, but we can make it much more seamless and integrated. To say you can flow throughout the system and not worry about how credit hours transfer or all these other problems or issues that could be barriers to stop you from using that system the best way. And so we need much more creativity in the creation of talent. Now the third one is connecting that. And the interesting part is I think we're messed up in American society. We lost our way, many cases when a bunch of us were kids, because we remember the days, I remember the days in high school when a bunch of my friends would go off to vo-ed and I would stay in high school. And we're all buddies and they were going off to skilled trades and I was going off to, figured I was going off to college and such. And so we sort of messed up over the last 20 or 30 years, 40 years. And again, we've lost the focus on how important those roles are. So we need to put these two worlds together. So think about it in terms of Econ 101, about supply and demand from a societal point of view. So what did we do in our society? We built an educational system that, again, we put in all these small buckets, didn't integrate them well at all, and said, here, kids, go through this system and you're going to come out and poof, you're going to have a career. So we did all our supply work on one diagram, one chart. And then go to the other side and say, where's the demand part of supply and demand? Well, we didn't put it on the same chart. We said, okay, private sector, you go sort of just go tell people occasionally you're going to go hire people, and that's how you're going to do it in the private sector. So we put demand on this chart. How dumb was that? I mean, if you stop and think about it. So we did supply on one chart, demand on another chart, and when everyone knows, we need to have one chart where we bring supply and demand together and create talent and connect it and through collaborations. And so that's our goal. And we've kicked it off with something called mitalent.org, a career portal we launched last November. It's going to be upgraded beginning in October, but that's not the end. That's a starting point. It's to tie into great things you're already doing. Talent 2025 in Grand Rapids is fabulous in West Michigan, and I want to compliment you for that. But how do we take it to the next level? So how do we bring supply and demand together of all these wonderful resources, the private sector, our young people and people looking for careers, and match them up and marry them up, and by doing that, we will be on the path to being the greatest state in this country, and the leader in North America, and a global leader. So that's the challenge I give you. But the commitment I'll give you is we are going to get this done. And one of the next steps to make this happen, forums like this are critically important. Next April or so, we already have on the books a Governor's Summit on Education, which I view as an opportunity to talk about supply. But I'm also telling you, I'm planning to talk about convening an economic summit next spring before that summit, in March or sometime, and I hope you get fired up about this idea. And the concept is, let's have one on the demand side, where we have all our economic development people and all the boards of our economic development people to come together statewide have regional breakout sessions to talk about our regional economies, but then also do it in an integrated fashion for the whole state. And the idea is, let's do that in February or March with this economic summit to talk about demand for talent. Let's roll right into April and talk about supply with the education summit, and then take next steps to put those both charts together and help lead things. That's the future of Michigan. I'm excited. So I would throw that out to you as something as food for thought, but you know how I am. We're going to work in dog years to make it happen, right? So very exciting. So what I would say is I talked about us being the comeback state. And that's a fact. We are the comeback state of the United States. But I can tell you, I'm not content nor complacent about where we are. Where we are is not good enough. It is not. My greatest fear is that we'll go backward. Because I've lived through this movie before. And as I look around this room, I see a lot of people in the same age profile I am. How many times did we come out of a recession and say, well, that was bad times. Now let's just go back and do the same old stuff that got us in this mess and continue to go downhill? That is not the reinvention of Michigan. We need to have that fashion to recognize we have done wonderful things as a team, but our work is not done, and let's continue to build Michigan in a way that we're going to see more and better jobs and also be able to tell our kids and our kids' kids is we cleaned up the mess. We stood up and said, all the junk that we've seen accumulate over the last 50, 60 years, we were able to take it on, clean it up, and give that bright future in a system that really works for our young people. That's exciting. So I really appreciate the chance to share these thoughts with you. I'm really looking forward to the questions. That'll be the fun part. But I hope you go out of here fired up. Do not go out of this place just thinking this was a nice conference. Take some fire and passion and go spread the word that we're reinventing Michigan. Thank you so much.